Hi, everybody, and welcome to today's event. We're going to be talking about the future of the contact center. And more appropriately, we're going to dive in on 5 contact center trends you don't want to miss in 2022. I'm Nick Bandy, CMO of LiveVox, and joining me today is LiveVox co-founder and CEO, Louis Summe. Louis, you ready to dive in?
Absolutely, Nick.
Let's do this. Our first trend is how hybrid work is going to put a spotlight on interaction analytics. So Louis, we're now in Q1 of 2022. 21 is in the rearview mirror, and it doesn't look like remote work is going to go away anytime soon, if ever. So how do you see that impacting contact centers in the coming year, particularly how they look at data?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. And I think we all know this firsthand, the way the pandemic impacted everybody, and a lot of people working from home and working remotely. And honestly, there's a lot of good in it. People started to find that work at home had some advantages. But there's also definitely times where you want to work in center. And so I think the future is really, it's about flexibility and, supporting people both in home environments or in office environments, and just, allowing them to kind of pick the situation that's best for them. But of course, if you do that, then a lot of the models that you had for monitoring and coaching and analyzing how your performance is changes, right? Because you're no longer in center. So first of all, and this is pretty obvious, but you're not going to walk the floor when, you've got, 80% of your staff, or you're going to walk the floor a lot less if you've got 80% of your staff working at home, right? Because, they're not available for you to walk behind them and see what they're doing. So that really actually raises up the role of using data in your analytics models. And so that's kind of a ongoing trend. And people really, as they look forward and they see, wow, kind of, it's always going to be this way. There's just going to be a lot more at home and a lot more in center combinations. Then, you really are starting to think about, well, how do I get my data set so that I'm indifferent to that as a manager, as a supervisor? I don't care whether you're at home or in center, the data set is one and the same. And I've got visibility on your performance, and I can interact with you. I can collaborate with you. I can coach, I can barge, all as if you're in center or at home, immaterial, same platform, same capabilities in either scenario.
So talk to me a little bit about how speech analytics, or I guess more appropriately now, interaction analytics is going to play a role in all of this.
Yeah, that's a great question, right? Because when you're at home, you're and you're, as a supervisor, you're relying more on data. Well, now you've got more data crunching to do. And so supervisors were already busy. They were busy pre-pandemic. It's not like when the pandemic came along, their lives became less busy and they had less work to do. In fact, for most contact center managers, the amount of work they had to do went up. And so now the question is like, well, okay, I'm managing this hybrid environment. And if you've got a lot of the right tools, then you've got a bigger flow of data, right? You've got more data coming in from different places, but more data, that's more things to analyze. So how are you going to do that? And that's a big role for interaction analytics to come in, because it can do a lot of the analytics crunching and a lot of the pattern identification. It can do it automatically. And in fact, it can create automated scorecards. And automated scorecards are a very powerful tool, especially in a hybrid environment where the need for quality management, the need for coaching, the need for compliance actually goes up. And having that analytics engine there to create these automated scorecards really helps the supervisors and the managers deal with the increased need to just manage this data, and gives them the capacity to kind of take it on and be able to manage this environment successfully.
And I think it would appear that speech analytics was certainly on the rise. But now the importance with digital transformation, that ability to be able to monitor all channels and to be able to pull those data sets in together is going to be even more important, right?
Absolutely. That's kind of the way it started, right? With analytics interactions is you You started off thinking about speech analytics. That was the initial foray, and that makes a lot of sense. I mean, speech is still the dominant channel. Probably, 60% of interactions are still going voice, but of course, you got 40% of interactions going digital channels now. Well, that's a pretty big amount, and so you can't ignore the 40% that are going over chat, over email, or over SMS. So your interactions analytics need to expand. They can't only just be about speech and about voice, but you got to cover on these other channels, and you've got to leverage them to build out your automated scorecards. Your automated scorecards need to include voice and email and SMS and chat. Otherwise, you're not really getting a holistic picture of what the agent is doing. You're not really positioning yourself for the future, for this new environment.